So now, what is FEMS? Welcome to the FEMS Final Showcase, unlike any other FEMS Final Showcase you've ever been to before. FEMS is a grassroots resistance initiative and turned nonprofit, which aims to be radically inclusive and accessible for poets, performers, and community members wanting to explore and uplift femininity. We work in the service of this goal by remaining open to all people of all ages, keeping attendance costs low as possible, and prioritizing accessible event spaces. Thank you so much for being here.
Yay! So we're so grateful to have you all at this event. For the last 3 years, this event has been a competition. It's been in person. It's been in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And tonight we will be showcasing poets that are a part of our festival community. FEMS is growing and grateful and so excited for tonight. And I'm going to share a poem. Today, one thing that's been really great about this this virtual space is that for me at least, I feel like I've been able to participate more than I ever have in FEMS as an organizer. And today I went to Laurel's workshop on abolition, and I went to Lip's workshop on I can't remember what it's called right now, but origin stories or something with the Bible. Not all of it was biblical, but anyway. And this poem that I wrote that I'm nervous to read now, I've never read a poem on our final stage, is inspired by both of those workshops. And yeah, I'm so grateful and thank you all so much. In the beginning, there was a gross bar, and a white man made spoken word, which is a Black poetic art form, into a competition. And people loved it. And people who didn't love it lost the stage. And it spread, and community was built and broken down and redefined, ultimately cutting out the rotting, cut out much of the sweet too. Things are true. Making art for fame is a choice. Making art for liberation is a self-healing prophecy that is limitless and bound to free at least one person. And that became enough. And suddenly the apocalypse ended because we danced each other into abolition and sang ourselves out of the White House and painted homes for our friends and chosen family where we practiced transformative justice and vegan baking, and we embroidered our way out of the fast fashion industry, and the collage artists and the remaining poets built the real emancipation, and we began the beginning again.
Right? What a blessing to hear Zenaida perform poetry. Wow, you'd think that they're a poet or something. We've been joking all week that we were gonna write a group piece called The Obituary for Slam, and that was it. So we're excited to welcome you to our Not Slam, to our showcase hosted by the incredible Sarah Nene Loveth Nwafor. All right, they are a queer Nigerian American poet and facilitator who descends from a powerful ancestry. They believe in storytelling and poetry as magic and healing, and they speak to keep traditions alive of Igbo orature, and they witness her forebears are pleased. Sarah Nwafor has been writing for a minute and is learning something new about their voice each year, but some things they're proud to share are that they have a partner piece featured on Button Poetry, as well as a poem featured in The Artery, which is a local art magazine, which is incredible. And when Sarah is not writing, she's probably sitting under a tree, reading about love, dancing with friends, or cooking bomb-ass meals like the true Taurus that she is. Taurus. They can be found on Instagram at Sarah Nwafor or on Twitter at Nwafor_Sarah. So without further ado, Sarah.
Thank you, Dee. Thank you so much for introducing me. Thank you, Zenaida, for that poem. I was like, I felt it. I felt that in my body. So thank you. And thank you all for being here. I'm really excited to host FEMS Finals. FEMS is a very special community and holds a very special place in my heart. But before we begin, we must acknowledge the history of spoken word. There are a lot of different things we can name as the start of the modern slam poetry and spoken word movement. But what's definitely true is that slam and spoken word would not exist without hip hop, the Black arts movement in the 1970s, and Africana oral performance traditions going back for centuries. We are participating in a Black art form. So for all non-Black poets in the space, that participation comes with the responsibility to stand against anti-Blackness in this space and in all of our communities that we are a part of. We take that responsibility very seriously here. Thank you. I would also like for us to take a moment to acknowledge this land that we are on. Even though we are not all physically together right now, a uniting factor for all of us, besides the fact that we are living in a pandemic, is that we are in quarantine on stolen land. For those of us here in Boston, Mashpee, Wampanoag, and Massachusetts land. Feel free to drop in the chat what land you're joining us from using the link that Dee just shared. And you can find out what land you occupy using that link. Thank you. I will now read a land acknowledgement given to us by Sunny Chumuk of the Herring Pond tribe of the Wampanoag Nation. Poetry is story, and the Wampanoag Nation has thousands of years of oral storytelling on this land that continues today. We'd like to take this moment to acknowledge that FEMS and this weekend's poetry is happening on Wampanoag land. In American colonial mythology, Wampanoag people are the nameless Indians in the Thanksgiving story only mentioned and praised when saving white colonizers in history, rendered a people of the past. However, Wampanoag people still live on their traditional lands in Boston, eastern Massachusetts, Cape Cod, the islands, and parts of Rhode Island. We encourage you to learn more and support current decolonization efforts led by Wampanoag tribes, such as land reclamation and Wampanoag language education. We named the land theft, ethnic cleansing, and displacement that occurred in order for FEMS to take place here. We acknowledge this with humility, respect, and gratitude. Thank you. Moment of silence, please. Thank you. Okay, so let's get into it. I'll tell you a little bit more about what you can expect here. So throughout this program, you may hear content that is triggering for you. We encourage folks to provide content warnings. We also know we can't know what's going to be a trigger for everyone. And because of this, we encourage you to please take care of yourselves. You can turn off the sound of the meeting by moving your mouse or tapping the screen, clicking the little arrow next to the mute and unmute microphone, and selecting leave audio. This will allow you to take space while remaining in the meeting if you wish to. Secondly, I want to say that FEMS curates a brave space, but we do not curate a safe space. We have microphones where free speech happens, and we work hard to foster a supportive, celebrative space for all voices. If anyone takes issue with anything said on our microphones, please feel free to have an open dialogue with the performer after the show. If you're not comfortable doing so, you can use the chat window and chat privately. Feel free to privately chat an event organizer, myself, Zonaida, or Dee if you don't feel comfortable having that conversation yourself. Thirdly, tech hosts are here to help with tech difficulties, and active listeners are here to offer emotional support for anything that comes up in this space. You can request support from these folks by private chatting anyone who has active listener or tech host in their name. Active listeners may create a separate video space for you to connect with outside the Zoom to chat if you need to. Friends Meeting Cambridge volunteers are here as a friendly presence and to hold space for a grounded gathering. That's Kim West and Wendy Sanford. Thank y'all. We want to invite the other active listeners, tech hosts, FEMC volunteers to send a little note in the chat at this time so you can see them. So go ahead and do that. So thank y'all. So that was us just getting ready. Thank you for doing that land acknowledgement with us. Thank you for being here. Now we can get into it. Are y'all ready for some poems? Please go off in the chat if you're ready for some poems. Like I'm ready for some poems, okay? So before we get into the poems one last time, for the one time, I'm going to give you a little schedule of how this is going to go. So first, I'm going to read a poem. Then I'll tell you who is on deck after me. And it's going to go the showcase, which is showcasing poets from our FEMS community. Then we're going to do the feature, a showcase, and we're going to close out with the feature and a little closing parting words from myself. All right, ready? Are you ready? Okay, I see a couple people getting hype. I like this. I like this. Yay! Everyone's as excited as I am. I'm happy. Okay, so I'm gonna start, and on deck, starting off the showcase, will be Allison Truge. So excited. So on deck is Allison Truge, and right now is me. Okay. So this is actually, I'm choosing this poem because it is a poem that I wrote in a workshop hosted by Ariana Brown and Alan Perez, which are two poets that I think FEMS appreciates. And this poem mentions poets from the FEMS community. So I thought it was perfect for this evening. Okay. Red once said that their greatest achievement was staying lamb tender in a world of butcher knives. And still, years later, my heart shakes at this, at being red meat with so much give. Juju used to call their empathy a sponge, has since hardened into a mirror, and I'm learning to do the same. I think the greatest way I can show up for myself is in my boundaries. I can see myself in your reflections without confusing care for you as care for me. Tender is such a tenuous thing. Water is water. The difference between a flood and a stream is the dams we build to hold back, and maybe that's why I quake in the face of such softness. I'm so careful with who I hold and held by. Because a love that's born out of scarcity does not know when to let go. Maybe the world did teach me to be a bit afraid. Being a bleeding heart in a world that knows so much of how to take, my biggest saving grace is learning when to stop. My blood was never the problem. It was the draw that made the cut, so forgive me for flinching when I see a knife. But still, a sword is a sword. The power is in how you wield it. Blessing to every rough-handed mother that has scalped the heart of a mango to bleed sweetness on my tongue. Forgiveness for me thinking every blessing was mine to give away. Blessing to me for learning to harvest for myself, to give only from my excess. Blessing to me for safeguarding my heart, my sponge heart. Thank you. And that poem was after Red Mendoza and after Juju. And you can find both of those poets on Instagram. Thanks, y'all. Okay, so coming up right now is Allison Truge, and on deck is Anna Binkovitz, okay? But right now is Allison Truge. Can we please make some noise for Allison? I'm so excited.
Hi, everybody. Just call me Truge. So that's a very hard act to follow. Oh my God, that poem is incredible. Okay, so since quarantine, I wrote my first ever love poem. So I'm gonna read that. I'm kind of nervous about it. It's maybe the first poem I've ever written where I don't talk about me being in pain at all, which is bananas. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna read the poem now. Brian says in high school, He had a cool teacher who said it was totally chill to check their phones and bring food into class because this class isn't detention, man. And Brian goes to lunch, his shoulder-length, curly brown hair blowing in the wind, his RAR XD sweatbands, his random Spork 2010 energy, and gets a calzone with seconds to spare before his class. He checks his iPhone 4, which he'll keep for the rest of his life as Apple memorabilia, and is faced with the reality. He will not make it to class in time unless the calzone comes too. We're talking 24 inches of calzone, a church of bread and cheese and sauce. He pulls up to the school and makes the choice. He takes the whole calzone out of the pizza box with the hands he will use to hold me only 2 years later and puts it vertically in the backpack, not wrapped in anything, just straight up calzone like it's a copy of the Odyssey. It is indeed a Greek tragedy of a feat. You win in the moment, but you will live your whole life afterwards knowing that what you had to do to get here. Grease stains on your Shakespeare homework forever. He gets to class, unzips the backpack, and places the calzone straight on the desk and begins to eat. I can picture it perfectly, the priority and necessity of eating this calzone no matter the cost. Years later, his teacher would tell of the legacy of this act, the conviction, the grit, the audacity. I have heard him tell this story over a dozen times, and every time it comes, I see the calzone story glint in his eyes. When I tell a story, with each retelling, it becomes grander and more hyperbolic, and I become more the hero each time. I was born an insufferable lying poet. When Brian tells a story, the details are exactly the same each time, journalistic, without fanfare. This is one of the only ways I believe that he loves me. Each I love you is a steady, accurate retelling. It is not hyperbole. It is just plain fact. The truth is, I was always meant to love Brian. We would have fallen in love if we'd crossed paths any other way, even if it was running into each other in the hallway with a calzone in his backpack. In fact, especially then. Brian looks over at me and apologizes for how many times I've heard this story. His crooked front tooth sighs and his dimple freckle folds into himself. He holds my hand like it is the most important thing he was ever meant to do. I will hear the calzone story for the rest of my life. Every time we order pizza with a new friend, every time he forgets, I've heard it before. I've always wanted a love that felt like legacy, and I got it. A story worthy of being told over and over. Stupid. But I'm also surprised at how unsurprising this love is. How steady and quiet. How it's magic. It's not in the fact that the story happened, but that it is worth a retelling over and over again. Thank you so much. I just got pizza from the person who loves me right now.
Wow.
There.
Yes.
Okay, I'll leave. Thank you all so much.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Trush. Oh my gosh. I was like tearing up and I was like, okay, you gotta keep the makeup on. You gotta keep the makeup on. That was amazing. Thank you so much, Trush. Okay. Coming up right now is Anna Binkovitz. And just so folks know, there is a content warning for intimate partner violence or intimate violence in this piece, just so you can know, take care of yourselves if you need to. Okay, so coming up right now is Anna Binkovitz, and on deck is Sin Jones. But please give it up for Anna Binkovitz. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. So I'm going to be reading a type of poem that's called a cento, which is where the poem is comprised of individual lines from other artists and writers' work. It's not letting me post it right now in the chat, but after I'm done, I'll post the names of every writer. And if you've got questions about a specific line, you can let me know. Also, a special shout out to one Rachel McKibbens. A line from Blood is in this poem. You're amazing, Rachel. Okay. In the worst moments, my body was moved for me. They fell into my life like pollen and stained it, hands doing their work. The mind separated from the body, and I was happy, watching it happen without it happening to me, as if I could possess the grief that possessed me. The hurt was exquisite, dying, though not exactly dying. Something opens and breaks when I say that. What was in the blood stayed, and grief I carried instead of love, and whatever evil I was given, I swallowed. Half of all of this is about regret. Like the sky, I've been too quiet, a woman still burying herself. Sometimes, in order to say a word, it is necessary to spit it out. I let everyone who entered my life enter through me. My well-used heart crushed under the weight of encounter, asking only for a long farewell.
Anna, your audio cut out. So would you mind going from the part where you said asking for only a long farewell?
Yes, I'm so sorry.
No problem.
Back up we go. Asking only for a long farewell. I want to tell you this story without having to be in it. I forget what his hands looked like. Pure departure, a gesture of smoke, 1,000 tongueless church bells. The day after came like a hammer through glass. It's possible I cried. What's the difference? The face of any man is the face of all men. I cannot say they love me, but don't they seek me out? Flesh is a constant haunting. What does it mean to pray for paradise now? Violence has changed me. More aftermath than art, some days there is a violent sister inside of me, a woman ruling the eulogies. I'm not as cruel, but I have tried. A memory trembles, could be wrong, but vividly, like skin. A ghost kneels in me, asks to be spared, only to grow into another disaster. Madness, too, can be cumulative. I have stopped believing that secrets are a beautiful way to die. Silence is a half-blooded thing. I ask myself, what is it doing here? Right now, what's important is to untangle the hair. Mercy was the first medicine of hands as a poultice. This is a ceremony, a homecoming from so far away, I must walk on the edge of myself. Here, in the garden where nothing lives, a tree grieves by losing leaves. I imitate it, a living thing. My body left open like a window. Welcome, stranger of myself. Mine was the voice begging no. Not hurt, but not unharmed. I'm alive and therefore enough. My heart, quiet and dark as seed, I refuse to explain the pageantry of healing. What compelled me to forget? I let survival be survival. What else is mine? If not all this strange beauty. I laugh because somewhere I want to cry. Hush, I am undone and open. This scar is how I talk to you.
Wow. Wow. Oh, thank you so much. That was beautiful. Whew. Yeah, I feel like I want every poet in this lineup to just get together and make a giant chapbook so I can carry these poems with me always. Thank you so much.
Sarah, you muted yourself and your video, I think.
Oh, okay, there we go. Am I back? Okay, nice. Thank you so much. Okay, LOL. So what I said is on deck is Gabriel Juan, but right now is Sin Jones. So can we please give it up for Sin Jones?
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
I am somewhere beyond this existence. The walls are made of flowers holding hands, and no one gets grief for holding anyone else's hand here. You're allowed to feel whatever you feel, cry in any gender and still be seen as strong. We know nothing of prejudice, capital, or constraint here, save historical examples, archaic relics, reminders of who we will never become. Our systems are built on compassionate community care like they always should have been, and everything is art, which it already was. But in this dimension, we have time to remember that. We never forget to remember so much time won back from the hungry jaws of oppression, so much time that we all sleep, we play, we run, we snack, and no one here has ever been murdered for sleeping, or playing, or running, or buying snacks, or being the gender they are, or the race they are, meaning no one here has ever been erased out of fear, or for any reason. The native language of this place is consent, and it is the language of everywhere, not just of our bedrooms. And no one is the police, and no one polices their loved ones, not even me or themselves. And there are reparations, and there is justice. That means justice, not just eliminating perceived threat, and no one exists as threat because here we deal with our implicit biases and our bullshit, and no one has ever called anyone's truth bullshit here, or them crazy, or too much. Because here, no one is too much, and my dad is still healthy. And whoever you call family is safe tonight, and every night. And my poems always get written, and your poems always get written, even if they aren't particularly good at first utterance. And here, I never once wrote for validation, only exploration, only revelation, only for me. Thanks.
Whew, thank you. I love that ending, only for me, as it should be. Thank you so much. So how are y'all enjoying these poems? I'm enjoying them. Real quick question. How much did you pay to be here? Free 99. I just like saying free 99. But FEMS is really committed to reducing the financial burden of those who want to participate in this tournament and festival. So yes, it makes sense that you paid free 99 to be here, but we cannot do that without you. We cannot reduce this financial burden without you. So if you can, please consider donating to FEMS Venmo, which is at FEMS Tournament on Venmo, or their PayPal, which is femstournament@gmail.com. Your donation allows us to offer new and innovative workshops, waive registration fees, and much, much more. Also, since y'all are here, thank you, Zenaida, for dropping that in the chat. Also, since y'all are here, please feel free to go ahead and like FEMS Tournament on Facebook, okay? We love for the family to grow, as well as follow FEMS on Twitter and on Instagram with the handle @FEMS Tournament. Also, with consent of the poets, of course, if you see something you like and want to post it, feel free to tag us. That's so lovely, which is once again @FEMS Tournament, okay? So yes, thank you so much, Sin. That was absolutely lovely. So the next poet, let me get it out real quick. Yes, the next poet is Gabriel Wan. I'm so excited to hear your poems. And on deck is My Lord. But right now, can we please give it up for Gabriel Wan?
Thank you. Content warning for suicidal ideation. This poem is Aries. Born of a broken love, how could I not be mad? My name means I fight, so I fight. Dad named me, made me a boy. One side fire, the other sword. Told me ruin something. He was so good at it, how can I be? But I don't leave my loved ones for a quiet heaven. I leave my brothers drowning themselves, I die with them. Dad wanted me to destroy something. I chose myself. I told myself I am mine wrath, a dangerous grace, vulgar in my survival of myself. You want to know what survival is? Look at me. Look at the flowers trying to live by giving, and then the wind drifting, unaware of its own undertaking. I don't know anything about prayer. Is a match sending lovers to the wind bursting. I can't wait to see the world go with me. Believe me, you will only see when I am myself. World, you don't know pain. I've got it all. I keep pain round like I bird the damn thing. Consider myself mother of my misfortune. Mom, no family. How to clean a lineage of wild blood. How sacrifice sits a mountain in my chest I can't reach. Tell me, Mom, did you ever figure out why anger is the sky you birthed me into? Let me out to filter my way through my worst selves. Mom, you said I should be on the ugly things in the world. Tell me I chose myself. This Armageddon bloodstream boils in me so easily. How to not feel like there is a different heaven falling out of me each day. Mom, will I know survival as the fruit or the fire? Does any face glow when I breathe? Will I breathe in death, exhale a light and be seen without my tongue shaking? I know to consider this. I am served by myself each day. I don't kill myself. Each day I survive myself. I can arrive in some moment which I believe has room for me. But I am away filling other voids. A dog with a dog in the fight. I am lucky. Consider this. Death is knowing I can be a cool rage. Calm, understanding myself to be softer than my history promises, but I won't be. Death is knowing I'm not wanted here and going. Death is giving the fires in me a fighting chance. At least part of me will win. I must be lucky. I am made open endings. Thank you all so much. Love you all.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Can we all take a collective breath for a sec? Okay. Ready? Thank you. That was such a powerful, powerful piece. Oh my goodness. I hope you have an Instagram so I can follow you if you're comfortable and hear more of your words. Wow. Okay, so on deck, right now is My Lord, and on deck is Lala. But can we please give it up for My Lord right now?
Hi, I'm in a car with my partner outside of a cheesecake factory. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, hear and see you perfectly.
Cool. Okay. Driving away from a home and towards a house and or forgetting. Away from remembrance and towards forgiveness of all the sins committed in one home and all of unwatched suns risen. Road trips make sense to me. You push all of your belongings into a van, kids tucked into McDonald's Sprite cups instead of seatbelts. You drive east, towards hopes of something you are missing but have never had to lose in the first place. See, the first hour and the last hour are always the quickest past. But every hour in between feels like 10 stretched out light years, each bubblegum stuck together. The same piece of bubblegum is also buried in the hollow spaces of my jawline and or teeth. And the exact same bubblegum as that is tucked into the corner of the steering wheel, left to harden and placed correctly to fill the torn leather. Road trips like to sweet talk their way into a home. See, road trips the crown to my mother's kingdom. Road trips the only way my mother excuses her absence. See, this trip, I let moccasins on my feet weave their way into this body. I let Tex-Mex and Tim Hortons fill my belly. And yes, it is my belly, and yes, I am fat, and no, that is actually not a way in which I degrade myself. You just assumed that. I let Tex-Mex and Tim Hortons fill my belly while I make peace with it. Because fat is beautiful even when I decide it isn't. Even when you decide it isn't. I let bike shorts and crop tops become my masculinity because fuck gender roles and bike shorts are just plain cute. I watched the bracelet my partner made me seep into skin. Watch the beads become vein and they give me love. I watched my bra dissolve. I watched my bra beget a casket. It has been carrying my dead womanhood for far too long.
Mm.
I let body part with mind and road trip part with car. I let pavement part with earth and all of it becomes me. Thank you.
Mm. Thank you. Wow. There was so much beautiful imagery in that poem, parting and coming back together, and wow. I felt like I just went on a journey. I don't know about y'all, but I feel very inspired right now by all of these poets to go and create, whether that means writing or painting or however you create. And if you are also feeling that way, and you're looking for more resilient and transforming poems, prompts, and other content, you can supplement the festival with the FEMS syllabus, on our website, which is femslam.org. So if you go to femslam.org, there's a syllabus of prompts you can use. Shout out to Sam Rush for putting that syllabus together. Thank you so much, Sam Rush. All right, next poet is Lala, and after Lala is our first beautiful and amazing feature, Charlotte Abotsi. But right now is Lala, so can we please give it up for Lala? Thank you so much.
Hey y'all. So I'm probably gonna turn my camera off before I read just because my brain. But yeah, I'm really excited to read. So this poem I wrote was actually a reflection for an event that I recently organized. I work for Bagley, which is the Boston Alliance of LGBTQ Youth, and we recently had an event called Sowing the Seeds of a Young Queer and Trans Workforce, where we had workshops, networking, and different opportunities for young queer and trans folks to be able to network with older folks in the community, which was super cool. And I wrote this poem sort of reflecting on young queer and trans people and what our futures look like and what our place sort of is in our futures, if that makes sense. But I'm going to turn my camera off and then start reading. Carrier pigeon, deliver the message of tomorrow. Seedling, implore the soil to make room for your story. Thunder snow, do not fear the reactions you ensue, the power you wield, and the confusion you erect. Smile upon those who witness you, revel in their amazement. You are not otherworldly. You are made up of everything this world needs. You are an entity of realms that are mortally unknown and grace our world with beauty that is not earth-shattering, but harmonizing. Your community is dependent on your unique offerings. A feeling of lacking is a misinterpretation of what is actually untapped potential. Shield yourself from thoughts that intrude and disturb. Only welcome what delights. Deny any shadows that attempt to cast themselves across your greatness. Shine not in spite of them, but because you have self-compassion. Know the worth of your mind, body, and spirit. Own the journey they take you on. Accept the past. Sow the seeds of tomorrow, and you will rekindle all of the passion that was denied, stolen, and tampered with. Greatness unbeknownst to the world. You are the carrier pigeon, the seedling, the thunder snow. You are a dreamer. You are a human with the capacity to ebb and flow, so vulnerable, so resilient, entwined this contradictory, complementary combination. You are the future. Thank you all so much.
Wow, thank you for that poem. Yeah, I think that poem, wow. As a queer Nigerian American person, that poem would have meant a lot to me as a young person, and honestly means a lot to me now. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much for everyone, all the poets who were featured in our first showcase. Before we move on to our first feature, I would like to take a moment. Sorry, give me 1 second. My computer. Oh, there we are. Okay, I would like to take a moment and extend special thanks to Kai Noel for all their incredible work in designing our graphics for the weekend. Thank you so much, Kai Noel. Okay, and thank you all so much for being here once again, and for all the poets who just read on this mic. Oh, that was so beautiful. And now we are going to go ahead and welcome Charlotte Abotsi, but first I have to introduce her. So, Charlotte Abotsi is a writer and an educator who lives in Providence, Rhode Island. She currently serves as the director of the Providence Poetry Slam. As a poet, she has competed in several international slams, placing in the top 20 poets at the 2016 Women of the World Poetry Slam and winning the 2017 Feminine Empowerment Movement Slam competition. Her poems have been written about in the Huffington Post and Mic.com. She is a 2014 Pink Door Writers Retreat Fellow and a 2019 Poetry Foundation Incubator Fellow. And she is a 2020 DreamYard Radical Poetry Consortium Fellow and a 2020 Tin House Writers Workshop Fellow. Wow, what a list. I love that. You can find her on her website, which is charlotteabotsi.com, which I'll drop in the chat. And you can also find her on Twitter and on Instagram at Charlotte Abotsi. So at this time, can we please start cheering, raising energy to welcome Charlotte Abotsi, our first feature. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the welcome. Wow, I see the chat going up. I'm really touched and so emotional to be here. Thank you so much, FEMS. Thank you to all the amazing poets who read at the showcase. I was really trying not to cry, just like you, Sarah, makeup. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Zenaida. Thank you, everyone who put this amazing past few days together. I am truly honored to be here featuring alongside Rachel McKibbens, who y'all don't even know. I'll get to it later, but who I love so dearly. So without further ado, I'm gonna read some poems. I'm gonna time myself to make sure I don't go over time. Okay. Another Black person has been murdered by police, so it is in my best interest to feign self-care. I refuse to learn the names. All Black people do is know each other by name. Rakia just braided my hair. Ayana would have been as tall as her daddy. Philando paid them kids' lunch fees. Philando paid. I've memorized all the names, somehow know them all. So many of us, famous and dead. So many of us rise with our arms up, awaiting both. So instead, tonight, I choose to slab cement over skin, lay with both my arms up. I think about all the ghosts I know too, how I've run out of room in my closet and how there is grief spilling from it. It's a mess in there. I'm so tired of all the dead people I know. I am dead tired of the knowing. I'm done learning the names. I'm exhausted by life and its refusal to stay mine. So instead, I fall into routine. As habitual as violence, I scrub, watch all of me pirouette down the drain. I mutilate a cucumber for each of my eyes. I am double cleansing the day away. All my me's are safe tonight. I saw an image of a knee on that man's neck, his Adam's apple pulverized into juice, a concentration of the lungs. I saw an image of a knee on a man's neck, and now it is the neck of the dead. I rub recovery serum into my own. I blend tree branch neck marks away. I choke myself to see how much I can withstand. Look how I glisten. Look at the glow of stretched out skin, blood rushing to its surface. I'm looking in the mirror and wishing myself a long stay. The smoke tells me otherwise. I'm looking in the mirror and wishing for a new me, a clean me, one without salt, copper. It was warfare when I saw the body decaying on the gravel, when the breath was stolen from the lungs. But bless the hands who nourish the skin and seek resolve. Bless the hands that paint circles into skin and refuse tomorrow's war. Bless the skin that peels, ready for vengeance. My new skin stay ready. My new skin wants all the smoke, so what's up? The insides of the fruit run down my eyes, so now I know I'm not the only thing to feel gutted. There are seeds of us in the asphalt, but I'm going to sleep soft. Lactic acid for the skin turnover. I am growing a new flesh, and at dawn I will have new skin. Commercial cleanse clear. I've picked at all my teeth. They drip for war. This is a poem about my friends. It's called What We Thought Was a Canyon Was Really Just a Desert. Niggas is useless, so I learned how to roll for the three of us. I packed flour into paper, slicked it wet, tucked tightly as this nigga drove, and my other nigga slept in the backseat as we came upon the site of the Joshua. Ash out the window, I soundtrack the drive, playing Everything is Embarrassing, but feeling far from it. We hotbox the rental, coughing calla lilies into closed fist. The national park, crayon blue and blood earth, called our names. We took a J for the hike. We avoided the tourist, acting like we different because we sparked on the road less traveled. Bits of the J frost our lips. We took refuge in shade, lit up by what I think was a waterfall, or was it a stalagmite? Just sedimentary rock formation. Nigga, who cares? Just pass it. Smoke echoed out our mouths as we climbed. We pulled up to the highest stone. Nigga, we got you. Hands ready to lift me towards the horizon. Still, I wandered away. I felt God and I chased after the divine. I bent the knee when my body told me. I whispered prayers into the nape of the air for long in solitude. I didn't look back until reverb split the heavens into two. Ayo, nigga, you good? Scream my nigga. I cackled with wind. Yeah, nigga, I'm good. I'm good.
I love that. Wow.
Thank you. So nice to hear a voice on the other side. I feel like Zoom readings and just the hum of the house. I really can't stress enough how much of an honor it is to be here. I've been to the physical FEMS, and so this is like such a treat, and also just kudos to the whole FEMS team, because this is what community is, and this is what slam and like spoken word programming should be. And
Yes.
I'm so honored to be here, truly. So
Thank you.
So aren't we all, right? I'm attempting to write a book. Like I say, aren't we all? And I'm still working it out, but it's about beauty politics and like white supremacy and like confronting that. Yeah, I'm gonna read some poems from there. Yay. Okay, this one is called, it's a part of a series. I'll read this first poem in it. It is called, I'm leaving the party early so I can be ugly in peace. Everyone is playing the game where they don't see you. You hide in plain sight. You ask dumb questions. You worry about how your resting face sits. You want to be pretty when you cry. You want to be pretty when no one is looking. You want to love yourself when you are alone. Nobody wants to come into my bed. 1. Perhaps it is for the best. It's rather small in its box spring, no sexy to its squeak, just a croak, missing a moan. Still, my nails are long and useless, clean, with no skin to sink into. So I spend nights wishing for a shared sweat, body brine, mutual salt, a tongue hiss, the dance of the pulse, mashed mouths, to fuck, to flail, the come down, a body to praise, me. I don't need much, just a generous mouth, patient hands. 2, nobody comes, not even me. I dry rub my lips and still, I'm alone. My cunt unconvinced, my lust a liar, fingers useless again. All I have is shame, the silent sigh it brings. Let me be clear, my want of an other in the room is not about sex, just all of this empty. At this point, I'll take anything that will come, my own private paralysis, a sauntering sleep demon. You know, I could use the weight of an apparition pressing into me, attending to my bed. At least it is touch. At least that'll make someone to share the thick of the night, heat's panting tongue, the want of the air. Listen, I'm not saying I want to fuck a ghost, but grief is a hunter who never tires. So excuse me, I cannot help but want the fogged breath in window, a conjugal visit from a mist who won't stop. How nice it must be to have a ghost, a guest, to be chose, to still have. 3, no body. I lost someone last year, and even he won't haunt me. Just gonna check on how I'm doing on time. Put my phone locked. Okay, so far so good. I'm very quickly going to add a poem to this set. I'm just gonna pull it up. It's a surprise that I will later explain.
Yay, take your time.
Thank you. Let me see. Okay. Black Girl Magic, or hashtag Black Girl Magic, is a concept and movement that was coined by Kashawn Thompson in 2013. The concept was born as a way to celebrate the beauty, power, and resilience of Black women and to congratulate Black women on their accomplishments. This poem is called On Not Being Magic. I am grit, I am skin, I am dull, I do not glow, I am average and I revel in it. I take pride in the mundane. I put too much weight on the blade of a razor and I bleed, just as you would. And later, the scab will remain, just as yours does. Don't call me magic. I'm not an alchemist. In fact, I hate science. I'm not brilliant when it comes to the stars, so sorry, I don't fit the module of a perfect Black girl. They say Black girls are magical because of the way we heal, but they do not question who is inflicting the bruises, who pours the alcohol on the fresh wound, who inflicts the wound in the first place. I walk into rooms and no one asks me how I am doing. They assume I am fine because I must be, right? Don't you know I'm magic? All Black girls are fine. We are wizards waiting to do a trick for you. Just ask us. Or maybe I have mastered the act of witchcraft. I can poof into invisible air. To be a magical Black girl means my surviving only matters if I have suffered first. The most celebrated Black girl is the one who is in pain. The magical Black girl is the Black girl who, in spite of the world trying to kill her, smiles for other people before herself. But I am here to tell you I'm not magic. Sure, them other Black girls are, but I am not strong, just trying to find strength within myself. I think it's revolutionary that not all parts of my life are wrapped in trauma. And that scar from the shave will heal once it is ready. This is a short one. Gonna read three more poems, including the one that I just added that I will explain. I know, it's time I confronted the way I feel about my face. It is pathetic to render yourself ugly. You're so desperate to deem yourself the beast. Here you sit, salivating. Truth is, I'm ugly because they said so, and I forgot to not believe them. Okay, so again, I cannot state enough how much of an honor it is to be here, to be at FEMS. This is such an important festival to me, such an important festival to our whole community. And I'm so thankful that it exists. The first ever FEMS that happened, I believe, was in 2017. And I was on a team with the great V-Tran, Justice Amir, and Muggs Fogarty, and together we won alongside this amazing Philly team with a bunch of homies on that team. And so we won the first ever FEMS as a tie, which is like so collaborative and in the spirit of FEMS. And I think it also happened the following year, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just a real honor to be here. I remember that night so well and how held I felt just to be in community. And I read the last poem on my team. And I'm going to read this poem. I don't really read this poem, but I thought in the spirit of FEMS to read it to y'all, because it's not a poem that I read to everyone, and I feel like we are there tonight as a collective and as a family. So this poem is called Fossil. The body is an oxymoron. Think how the trachea, used for breathing, and the esophagus, used for eating, lay side by side in the throat. I too am an oxymoron. See how I can be Black and woman and still live in a country that wants me dead. They think we know enough of the ways we got here. First stolen, then sold, then enslaved, then raped, then segregated, then lynched, then sold to prison to be enslaved and raped and segregated and lynched. All history, all documents to prove it. Because that's just how it was back then. Black folks only existed on paper, meaning Black folks' proof of existence has always relied on documentation, a bill of sale, a property count, freedom papers, birth certificates with a foreign last name. See, Black people have always been a collection of receipts. I am an oxymoron. I am Black, yet I am undocumented, a paperless pulse. I live in a country that does not know what to make of my existence. See how I have nothing to fossilize into proof of me being here. The president ended DACA, and somewhere a safety net breaks, and here my lifeline wilts, and quickly I vanish, not existing anywhere. This country wiped its hands clean of my body. To be undocumented is to have no record of a body. It is to have fingers that do not leave prints. It is to be a master of disguise. I look into a mirror and all there is smoke, a dark night that swallows me, a thick midnight I dissolve into. Black and undocumented is a twisted privilege. It is seeking warmth and pigment around the coldest of ice agents. It is not looking like I belong to a border, but rather a harbor forced from my homeland centuries ago. It is saying this in this room with the fear of being taken into custody, but ain't having to show papers the Blackest thing there is. And ain't it so Black to be a constant disappearing act, so immigrant to not know where to call home? And ain't it just like America to be the one who gets to name the kettle black, the one who names Black, immigrant, and both illegal? Do you know if I've ever lived in the first place? Will I be buried in an unmarked grave like those before me? What fossils will become of me if I have nothing to prove I exist? Thank you. I have one more poem for y'all, if the timer allows it. Yes, one more poem. Thank you all so, so much. I can't wait to scroll through the comments and cry. And also, I cannot wait to cry throughout Rachel McKibbens' feature, who, may I say, is like genuinely my best friend. We like text on some bullshit every day, almost every day. And we had no idea that it would have been, it's us two in the finals until Zenaida sent us, the final email. And I opened the email and I saw it was CC'd on it. And I saw Rachel McKibbens' name. And I literally said, bitch! And then I immediately closed the email and then went to voice notes and went, bitch! So I'm really, really excited because that's going to be me the entire time during Rachel McKibbens' feature. Thank you all so much for having me. I have one last poem. Thank you for being here. Perpetually answering, hanging in there to questions asking me how I'm doing. All my days are the same. I wake up and I am what I become, a muse for all that's morose. These days, I just feel like a wine that never escapes the lung, An inhale caught in the throat. Do you feel me? I'm trying to say when I breathe in, my shoulders stay up. And yeah, I've been the same since the last time you asked. Thank you. You're right. That was a minute ago. I guess time flies when you long to bite the bullet. I gotta remember to just start answering. You know how it be, since all you gonna say is, it be like that. But I ain't even gonna hold you because it really do be like that. It be your own imposter in the mirror, a lie in the reflection, the trickster that tumbles out of you on days you fool all yourselves into wellness. And nigga, if we keeping it 100, I forgot how to stop being sad. This feeling has never escaped me. I went to sleep at the sunrise of my girlhood and never emerged from the dusk. The street lights been on and I still ain't back from the park. I guess it has been a grip since I can remember not hating myself. That could have been the last time I seen you. My bad. I know we all just catching up, and I don't mean to steer the convo into darkness. It's just that when you ask me that, a serpent slides out of me to sing you a sad song. Shit has not changed since the last time. Every answer is an attempt to say, I am trying, but every day I have wanted to sleep myself into soil. And what I mean to ask is, there a way you can smother me during my slumber? I am down to suffocate into silence. I wake up every day just hanging in the slick of summer, suspended into air. I've been waiting at the swing set for someone to push, at the monkey bars begging for a weak wrist and unforgiving concrete. Random, but why everything in this park remind me of being a nigger? Anyway, you hear about the body they pulled from the swamp. I guess the tree gave out, crouched towards its inevitable burial and finally snapped at the neck. So I guess you can say, am I just hanging in there from a noose of my own design? Thank you so, so much.
Wow. Wow. Sorry, I interrupted someone. Did I? No? Okay. Thank you so much for that, for all of that. That was so beautiful. I feel very blessed to have you in this space. And as you can see in the chat, many people also feel the same. So thank you. Okay. No worries. So we're gonna have to switch up the schedule just a little bit, just because I'm running behind schedule. So instead of having the showcase go next, we're actually going to have Rachel McKibbens go next and then the showcase. So I am, and it's kind of like cool because like back to back features, like, whew, you know, I'm just getting fed tonight. I'm so blessed. And then I'm gonna get fed again with the showcase, okay? But yeah, so I'm very honored to be introducing Rachel McKibbens. Rachel McKibbens is a salty Chicana witch, poet, and noisemaker. She is a 2-time New York Foundation for the Arts Poetry Fellow and author of 3 full-length books of poetry, Pink Elephant, Into the Dark, and Emptying Fields, Blood, plus a chapbook, Mammoth. In 2012, McKibbens founded the Pink Door Writing Retreat, an annual writing intensive open exclusively to non-men writers of color. McKibbens is a member of the WOC Arts Collective and co-curates the critically acclaimed reading series Poetry and Pie, Night at Her Bar, The Spirit Room. Her favorite color is knives. Love that. And if you want to follow Rachel McKibbens, she is on Twitter at Rachel McKibbens and on Instagram at Vulture Kiss. So, let us prepare ourselves. Let us get hyped. Just get ready, get hyped for Rachel McKibbens, everybody. Thank you so much.
Oh my heavens. Hi, you're all in my living room. I may have taken a muscle relaxer earlier today, and it is now sinking in.
It'd be like that, you know?
Thank you so much, all of you, for putting this together. I completely understand the hustle and all of the blood and sweat that goes into creating such a magnificent space. And I'm truly, truly blessed and honored to be a part of FEMS tournament spectacular extravaganza. I'm gonna just shut the fuck up now and read poems. I'm just reading a few poems from each of my books. This one is a poem called Tomboy. The last time Father took us to the beach, I smuggled a mermaid into the car, kept her hidden beneath a pile of blankets and wet towels. After dinner, I snuck into the garage, dragged her into my room by her slippery wrists. She lived inside my closet for weeks, smacking her rotting tail against the door, its scales spilling to the floor like green coins. I begged her to teach me the love in women, to help me seem less unnatural. But her words rippled in her throat, a wild ocean language I could not comprehend. Give me something, I warned, or I'll dry you out. She began to writhe beneath my voice as I spit words that slurred her flesh. It was my own wild language passed down to me by my father. Words, sounds, rages, the darkest blue shades of misogyny no child's mouth should ever dare commit. But I had given her everything, all that I had inherited, allowed her into my home, fed her, bathed her, gave her somewhere to sleep, but she was full of woman's ungratefulness and would not be seduced, denying me the answers I knew she hid beneath her scales. I stood over her, disgusted, smashed a mirror against her breasts, then sucked the final splinters of moisture from her lips. I did not sleep, just listened to her mouth wrench and coil as her gasps surrendered into the little catches of air she could find between tongue and teeth. The next morning, I packed her throat full of sand, stuffed her gills with mud and broken seashells. She lacked all strength to squirm and simply looked to me in horror, watching me return to the only child I knew to be. I was mythological and frightening. I was half man. I was half flawless. I apologize for not giving content warnings. My entire set will be fucked up. All right. This is called The Second Time. The second time we filled a suitcase with clothes, emptied the coffee can of quarters into a pillowcase and waited. We timed our escape around his snoring, opening the front door an inch for each noisy exhale. My brother refused to come with us, a betrayal I would cling to for 23 years. My father had locked the phones in the trunk of his car. The nearest payphone was across the street in MacArthur Park. I called for the cab, my voice bound by so much fear, I had to repeat our address 6 times. My stepmother's nose was broken. A collar of blood wrapped around her nightgown, scalp bleeding where patches of hair had been. She sat on the curb, holding a tangled fistful of it in her hands. It was absurd to watch her combing through it, as if anything could be salvaged. Back in the apartment, she'd crawled on her knees, feeling around for clumps of hair in the dark, and I hated her for that. For being nothing more than a woman, hated her for the pity I could not feel. 45 minutes later, I was sitting in the back seat of the cab, watching my father rage towards us, my stepmother frantically rolling up her window, yelling at the driver, "Go!" And glass sprayed across our laps. The driver began to scream. My stepmother kept screaming, and I could do nothing but sit, quietly amazed, as my father reached in and pulled her out through the broken window, dragging the soft flesh of her thighs over an angry tooth of glass. The cab sped off with our suitcase still in the trunk. I stood at the curb, holding a bleeding sack of coins, waiting for silence to overcome the night. The sprinklers came on in the courtyard as I made my way up the sidewalk, following a trail of blood back all the way home. This next poem is called A Sunday Cross-Examination of My Future Next Husband. Oh, I wanted to bring up too, all of these poems were poems that I have slammed on in national competitions. And what I've always enjoyed is how I could get a 10 and a 2 in the room. And I loved how divisive my poetry was, particularly for white audiences. I just really love scaring those audiences the most. I forget why I'm bringing any of this up. Charlotte, I love you. I just keep looking. We both wore our hair down. I just love it without even knowing. A Sunday cross-examination of my future next husband. In my father's house, beneath the floorboards where the wood is worn, lies a jar with a faded label. Inside is a tiny daughter pickled in rose water, her wrists held by twine. She sings a school of copper fish, and they move through the tangled pipes above her rotting head. I hear them when I bleed. If you are to love me, you must believe every word of this. All the haunted girls you knew before me have been a warning. And in the mouth of each girl, a brick with my window's name on it. I've watched a soul dance like smoke from a mouth and burn through my hair. I ate a plate of fingernails on my wedding day, made vows as the bones of friends stirred the mud beneath my gown. In 4 years, my husband's hands grew twice the size of his body. I cut them down like men from a tree and hid them in a box. They ghost the hallways of a 6th floor apartment in Brooklyn. My children are all 5 of my hearts unleashed. When I die, will you bring me flowers and a box of chocolates? Will my going skin be your saddest song? Do you understand? Instead of becoming a woman you grow old with, I want to be the God you run to. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Your screen did freeze though. Okay,
Is it still, am I working? Oh no,
you're working.
Everyone has to get off the internet. I blame all 5 of those children. See how I brought that back? I'm like full of it. I was voted class clown in high school. Is that shocking? I hope not. All right, these are, oh boy, what am I on time? How much time? Oh, I hope, my Lord. Let's just get into this really quickly. So as I was saying, my poems are fucked up. They cover pretty much everything that is harmful, and sometimes even I leave the room during one of them. So this poem is from a very rare book called Mammoth, and it is a complete, all of the poems are about my niece Ingrid, who died. She was 23 months old. This is called Small Talk. The checkout clerk asks how my day is going. Shitty. He smiles, automatic. Then he hears me. Oh, that's too bad. Sorry to hear it. I take my bag, glancing back at the counter. Did I forget someone? Did I pay for this? I don't even want this. At the traffic light, car horns blare like skinned animals. I put my foot on the gas and go, not because the light is green, but because we put a warm sweater on the child, then buried her. Well-wishers have named this a difficult time. They keep apologizing for how difficult it is. If there's anything I can do, do you need anything? How about a little goddamn honesty? How about calling it what it really is? How about stop your fucking smiling? How about breaking it down? Carrying 3 bags of groceries on each arm and holding a sleeping 3-year-old while trying to unlock the front door is difficult. Watching a coffin go by small enough to be carried by a single person is difficult. What I need somebody to do is talk about the dolls and the baby shampoo and the unscuffed shoes, the boxes of latex gloves, the empty car seat, and the woman who survived decades of shit to end up here. An addict, 4 years sober, praising morphine in her child's final hours. What you have to do is call, picking out your baby's headstone, the ravenous hell it truly is, and say, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so very sorry for this impossible time. All right, how are we doing? Probably 2 more poems. Hi. Did I freeze again? I'm just kidding.
You're good, don't worry.
I'm trying to figure out what last 2 poems to read. Hi, I sort of edit in my head. That's why I couldn't send my stuff ahead of time. I apologize. I just am not able. Don't have it in me. I might read 3 more. And thank you again. And I truly love the magic that occurred when Charlotte and I both agreed to do this feature without knowing. And then just a few more days, just a few days ago is when we realized it. We're so goofy like that. Meanwhile, we had, every minute to talk tons of trash on people we will not name. My dog was like, no, name them. Shh. A brief biography of the poet's mother. There was a child hemorrhaging light, the blue song of her brain, an early maggot writhing. Her mother, a jealous newlywed, with looking glass hands and a tub full of bleach, thieved and thieved until the child became a quiet room, a silence born of interrogated flesh. Girl is the worst season. Mother, no guarantee. No clothes or meat, no heavy tit wrecked with milk. So the blue song became a dirge. Then the dirge became a girl. Where is the sandbox? Oh, I just always love reading this poem, so that's what's happening. The Sandbox for Lisa or Lori. These were actually a set of twins from Sunday school that I had relations with. We were like, I think 4 or 5. But for the sake of the poem, I aged me out. All right, here we go. The Sandbox. We held each other in silence, mouth against mouth, blood and thunder scorching the grass. Behind the shed, I played the husband, brutish breadwinner, choking her flesh in my troubled hands, pulling her head back to lick from neck to ear in frenzied thrill, the kind of love I learned from movies. And what light swamped the air as I shoved my bald pelvis into hers, blood ripening into wolf brine, burning a girl-shaped hole in the clover. Every afternoon I became a god reinventing sky, expert forger of the dry hump. I asked, who's your daddy? Before that was even a thing. Once the recess bell rang, I released her back into the quiet, unwild, to no longer mine, to fat white tubs of minty paste and songs about Jesus. From across the room, I watched my bride make eyes with the real boys and knew I could kill for her, drill a body down into the earth, boy in the Polaroid, a grisly figurine. The white horse of masculinity bucking wild on the inside, I bit my lip and I did as I was told. After school, I wanted to hold her hand. She always wanted a divorce. When the big kids followed me home, calling me lesbo, homo, wetback, faggot, I held my chin out and challenged to fight them all every time, and why not? Might as well. We all knew I would never win anything. I don't hang out with folks much anymore, and so this is really a spectacular social gathering for me. I feel really close to all y'all. All of the poems that started out this night have helped pull me back into a place where I probably belong, and I just forget sometimes. I truly have believed that I'm not a poet anymore because I haven't written a poem in like 2 years. I think that, and it's not people are like, oh, you have writer's block? I'm like, no, I'm just not writing poems. Like, I'm just not writing. That's just what the fuck it is. I just don't have the ability to like force a poem out. It has to sort of like knock me upside my head. And it's like, this is where I want to be, bitch. And I'm like, yes, fine. Thank you, person. Sorry, I'm a goofball. Ghost Town. My mother lives with schizophrenia, and I understand that there are, at any point, like one day I could wake up and maybe have auditory hallucinations, or just any of the myriad of things that come with that. And so I always felt like there's like a ledge in the back of my right ear, and that she's chilling there, just waiting to jump out. Ghost town. A cold witness she sits, my unbeloved mother, trapped daughter of my bright asylum. I'm never alone. Peer into the left eye of me and you will find her squatting, face knifed and dim, hair scribbled over that big yellow grin. The mirrors, deviled in shit, grind her face into the meat of me, pale, pale. I eat abandoned houses to keep her fed, give her spoiled milk until her teeth go dead. She tumors me a song, and it would take a gun to birth her. Oh, bullet, oh, midwife, draw the lunatic out. Throw that voice slanted with madness into the cemetery air. Give me a field of rotting crows, and I will bury her there. I really like that cough. Thanks for reminding me that there are other people in this house. How dare I take it over with all of my my own lunacy. I've read all your favorites. Oh, the hits. There's so many wild poems. All right, I'm just gonna read 2 more really fast and then we're out. Did I go overtime? Oh, I'm so embarrassed. Oh my God. Swell. Wow, these are all my mom poems. What the fuck? I don't know. Shh. Swell. I've never had a mother, or no longer have, or once did briefly for a day or 2. Perhaps she was only mine during the wet crown of hours. I spun my skull through her ripe and whitening cunt, then fastened to her nipple, a botched daughter ugly with hunger. Maybe it was long before the orphaning, before the womb fell quiet and her brain went sour. Gentle reader, won't you permit me this sweetness? The morning she straddled my father, black flood of hair, throat opened to God, the red muscle of her quickening like the pulse of a dazzled child. Yes, let it be there. In that heat ravaged moment, as she caught the pale bloom of herself in the mirror and looking back over her shoulder, fell in love with the animal engine of her body, not for the daughter it could nurture, but for the girl it would kill. And then I will close with a shorty. On Tuesday marks the anniversary of me and my partner. 14 years, and I wrote this poem as an anniversary present to him some other time ago. Who knows? Salvage. I have learned to need the body I spent years trying to rid the world of. Have learned to cherish its pale rebel hymn, warped by ghost heat, carried by all my loyal dead. I have learned to crawl backward into the wilderness, to ask, to eat, to steep in your gentleness. Let this be where I permit forgiveness to know your name, to leave our cruelest years where and how we need them most, behind and unlit. Thank you for letting me cry. Again, I'm just really just supremely humbled by being able to share space with all of y'all. And I hope that we can all hang out at a big slumber party in the woods sometime soon, because this shit is horrific. Love you all. Bye. Do I like sink away now? I don't know.
Sinking away is totally fine. Thank you so much. That was, wow, absolutely lovely. And thank you for your presence and your energy. Yeah, appreciate you. Wow.
Thank you.
No worries. Thank you. Okay. Also, Zenaida asked an important question in the chat. Let me check. Oh, yes. Thank you, Zenaida. How can people tip both of you, Rachel McKibbens, and also you, Charlotte? Let us know. Drop your Venmos in the chat, or say it aloud. Either one is fine, because we would love to tip you. We're so grateful for you being here. Okay. We're going to go ahead and move on to the showcase. So coming up right now is Kay Cassier. And on deck is Katya. But can we please give it up right now for Kay? Thank you so much, Kay.
Hello. Thank you, organizers, for moving me up because I have to leave for work very soon. Thank you, everyone, for this wonderful weekend. Yeah, here's the poem. Picasso paints portraits of prostitutes, then says, there are only two types of women, goddesses and doormats. And I wonder how Picasso would have seen me, young, naive dreamer, sad in all the pretty ways, goddess for pay, doormat when needed to be safe. Picasso said women are machines for suffering, saw suffering and turned it into art, saw women and turned them into art. Picasso liked young girls. He liked models. He liked modeling women into whatever his hands could make of them. He made art by carving away pieces of objects until all that was left was his impression. Understood it was tireless work. Sometimes he'd carve away too much. His canvas, no longer perfect, was to be discarded. Picasso picked up girls, then tossed them aside like paintings he wasn't proud of anymore. Like another stage of art he has moved on from. Like he has a new style now, a new muse now. Someone whose essence he hasn't captured yet. And I too have been loved until it wasn't fun anymore. Had someone strip me of myself, calling it art, then ask where the old me went. When Picasso said women are machines for suffering, I think he meant to say that he did not know how to turn happiness into art. But maybe if he made the world around him miserable, called his partner weeping woman instead of by name, maybe then people would remember him instead.
Wow, thank you so much, Kay. Wow, that was such a beautiful poem. Okay, so coming up right now is Katya, and on deck is Sarah Lynn Herklotz. But right now, can we please welcome Katya? Oh, you're muted.
Oh, hi everyone. Is my poem coming up on the screen for anyone?
So if you want to pin the poem, it is on the screen. If you find the participant named current poem, you can pin it yourself. The spotlighting wasn't working, so if you would like to look at it, you can pin it.
I'll talk so you all can see it. Here it is.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No worries. Take your time.
Here we go. Okay. All right. So this is a poem that I wrote at one of the workshops this weekend. I feel like when I first started writing poems, I would just write a lot about like mental illness or just like being like sad and gay, because that was just like kind of all that I knew. But I've been trying to lately kind of go in a different direction and actually like celebrate all the ways that being neurodivergent makes us have really interesting brains and really interesting thoughts, and that can be a really beautiful and exciting experience too, and kind of write more about the other side of that. So this is called How to Say I Love You in Neurodivergent. Your name in my mouth tastes like a smile. You're the most beautiful thing I've ever been stuck on. Remember the niche interest you mentioned 2 Sundays ago? Here's a relevant article I'd like to ask you 17 follow-up questions about. Some of the answers I already know, but I love the way your eyes get all wide and sparkly when you talk about a passion. I'm not afraid of you, but you scare me. Did I scare you away? Here's some fun and interesting facts about snails. Here's a pocket-sized pop-up book of a poem based on a text you sent in 2016 made from a lonely blue journal I rescued from a ransacked dollar bin at the Target last winter. Anyways, Merry Christmas. According to some anthropologists, legends of Cupid were inspired by Helix aspersa, a hermaphroditic garden snail. These slimy Casanovas show interest by shooting dirt-shaped snot rockets coated in sperm-fortifying mucous membranes at passing snails, catching their eye stalks. Did I scare you away yet? The presence of a protective shell is the only known biological distinction between snails and slugs. Did I scare you away yet? I'm certain I knew you in a life before this one. I saw this on a curb today and thought of you. My head goes quiet when you call my name. Would you tell me if I was scaring you away? Is it rude to say that you make me feel more like a slug? I learned that song we both love on the guitar. You give me the courage to be myself, which is to say you have top energy. Can I do your star chart? What time were you born? I'm not saying you're my reason, because I know better now, but I'm happy I stayed long enough to know you. And I'm happy that I know all of you. Very grateful for this space. Thanks so much.
Wow, thank you. Oh my gosh, that poem was so affirming. I loved that, especially the part about the niche interests, and also when you mentioned top energy. Felt that. Thank you so much for that poem. Okay, up right now is Sarah Lynn Herklotz. For this poem, I'd like to give a content warning for body image and eating disorders. And on deck is Sky. But right now, can we please welcome Sarah Lynn Herklotz?
Hi.
Hello.
So many feels. I want to do this poem. It's an old poem, but it's the first poem I ever wrote, like in hopes that if I wrote it and said it enough, I would heal myself. And I just say it all the time, alone and on stage, and eventually it worked. And like I have more of the feels right now, I just have to say, because I brought this to a national stage for the first time when I had first started poetry, and I was like so terrified. And then I looked at my bout list, and Rachel McKibbens, you were in my bout, and I was like dying, and I was like, I can't. I was so scared. I was like freaking out, and I like sent a picture of my bout list to all my friends, and I was like, I can't do it. And I think I was about 2 people after you, which is even more appropriate in this moment for me right now. And I'm pretty sure I did this poem, which is even weirder. But I'm also fairly certain I witnessed you get a 10 and a 2, like you told in that story. And I remember in that moment, just like no longer caring about scores and like getting like this whole different feeling about like why I was there. It was a Women of the World. And it just like, it changed my energy for the whole thing. And I was like, if Rachel McKibbens is gonna get a 2 on something, then scores are meaningless and I'm just gonna have a good time. Anyway, thought I would share that story, but this is that poem and I'm pretty sure I did in that exact bout. When my body grows into herself, I hope she will realize that I was only trying to protect her. That her projector screen skin, it will not tell my secrets, that she will be more tree trunk. All those lines inside her spelling her stories only to those who take the time to read them. I hope she will be a snow globe, that when this world turns her around on herself, her insides, they'll sparkle, that they will light her way home again. Perhaps my new body, she'll be like a genie bottle, and if you rub the belly of her like just right, her spirit, it'll like fly out and grant you 3 wishes. Oh, how I hope you choose them carefully. I hope I glow like sunshine. I hope they grow with me. I hope my womanhood, she is proud enough to just like burst out of her shirt buttons and announce herself proudly. I don't know if I am more afraid that I will loathe her or that I will love her. More fearful that I will disappear behind her flesh and bubbles, or that I might appear out of the rubble of my own brokenness only to discover that I have always been perfect. I hope you will make room for me at all the tables that have missed me, that you might have saved me more blanket and a little extra wiggle room. I hope you will love my wiggle, that my softness, it will remind you of surrender the way all your tattoos do. Perhaps my new body shall be like a spaceship, this mystifying thing whose unknowns keep you interested. I just hope I keep you interested. When my body grows into herself, hell, I hope there are fireworks. I hope the Rockettes, they all like tap dance, kick line me right to center stage, and then I hope they all eat something satisfying. I hope my new wardrobe will not be too expensive, that my old clothes, they will lay themselves out this paper doll timeline of just how long I stayed a child. I hope I will still look like my brother, that I might stay warmer in the winter. I hope my body births earthquakes, that you are left quaking beneath them. I hope she remembers a Victorian kind of beauty, the way that splayed across a canvas, big hips became famous. I hope she will realize she is not a failure, that good things may come in small packages, but great things, they come in a form that is born from fearless. When my body finally grows into herself, I hope she is fearless, that she will not scribble stranger onto herself on the hard days, but I hope that there are hard days, that they will remind her how bravely she got here and how hard I worked to love her. When my body finally grows into herself, I will love her. I just hope she will forgive me for taking so long. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Okay, so coming up right now is Sky, and on deck is Jess. But can we please right now give it up for Sky?
Hi, okay. Sorry, I'm just pulling up my poem. Okay. 17 years after the day my mother was told I would be born, the Supreme Court ruled that states were required to recognize gay marriage. I was born 5 days late. Her water broke 6 hours after Pride Month was over. June has always had my heart for anticipation, for a beehive of school ending and summer plans and family asking what I want. What do I want? It took me a long time to figure that out, to admit to myself what I wanted and who and how, and mostly whether or not it mattered. My heart decided it does. My heart decided how women love matters. I had no say. I stayed quiet. If I could have gone through with killing my heart, I might have. I might have shattered the memories and glued them together and held them in a place they can't hurt me. For so long I was straight until proven gay, but now I wear my heart on my sleeve and it turns out I'll never be innocent again. I say it turns out as if this is over, as if nothing is still turning out, as if coming out is over and not barely begun, as if making a mocking out of the changing I haven't even accepted yet. June has my heart now for new reasons, for celebration, for learning, for turning into someone I can't see yet, for figuring out what I want and telling everyone.
Wow, thank you for figuring out what I want and telling everyone. Absolutely. Love that. Um, okay, before we move on to the next poets, I would like, FEMS would like to thank Friends Meeting of Cambridge for being our virtual host, and David Coletta and Polly for being our community's fearless tech leaders. Thank you so much. Also, if y'all are taking screenshots or selfies and posting them, please tag us with hashtag FemFest 2020. We love to keep these memories or see these memories and how much fun y'all are having. Okay, let's get on to the next couple poets. So coming up right now is Jess, very excited, and on deck is Abby. But can we please right now welcome Jess? Hi, Jess.
Hello, I'm Jess. I'm grateful to be in this space. So grateful. This weekend has been wonderful. I've never been on final stage because I don't slam, and if I was really in the church right now on the stage, I'd probably be throwing up. So it's good to start here. Oh my god, every time I'm so nervous. I always forget to give content warnings, and I hate myself every time because I'm like, even like 5 minutes before, I'm like, do it, and every time I forget and I feel horrible. Anyway, this one doesn't even need that much of a content warning, but content warning for like family stuff. It's called The Aftermath. The people in my house don't touch each other. We learn that touching was some kind of crisis, the not touching the aftermath, the shock still setting in a decade later. Though lately I want to be a hug person, and the people outside my house seem like they have so much to offer. But my father is upset I don't love him, trust him, hug him anymore. And when I refuse, he jokes my no must mean yes, and still our arms collide on two small couches. I flinch and pull away from my body, his body, all of our bodies piled one on top of the other in close contact. I must say, I like it this way. I haven't talked to my father since last Christmas. Our arms don't bleed into one another on two small couches, or when he picks up a new hobby, holds his hurt to the light and passes it back to me. I let my brother see me cry and even touch me last year. Now I give him a hug on his birthday and still we joke about it. This is the aftermath of touching, learning to inhabit the body again, flinch with the history and hold it anyway. I've made the last 3 years into an offering the people in my house never taught me. My limbs held out in church basements, breweries, and gay bars. The world offers us too many things, both good and bad, and this is the aftermath. We learn to touch and be touched, contact each other when in crisis. Trust me when I say this, the history of touching is a hard one, but just yesterday I reached for my sad friend's hands across the table so casually. My cold fingers pressed between her warm palms has me hoping, surely. The people I know now touch each other gently, know that contact is a kind of crisis worth its every aftermath. We know the world is both the flinching and the reaching. Cold hands, warm palm, trust me.
Wow. Thank you so much, Jess. That was beautiful. Yeah. Touch is like my third love language now, I think. It changed over time. So I feel like this progression with touch that I heard in your poem like resonated with me. So thank you. All right, before we move on to the next poet, I want to make a shameless plug for the FEMS virtual open mics that happen. If y'all are loving the energy and poems that you're hearing in this space, then please know that FEMS has virtual open mics on the first and third Tuesday of every month. Please keep an eye out for future events. and we send out the Zoom links. We're trying to be very judicious about not sharing too widely just to keep folks safe, but feel free to invite friends and community members that you trust well. I would also like to say that if there are any workshops you've missed, because I know, we're in the middle of a pandemic, there's a lot happening, and you should prioritize yourself. But if you do still want to experience these workshops, they have been recorded and will be posted on the FEMS website forever. Yay! So we can all experience that goodness. Just keep an eye out for when those workshops get posted. Okay. So once again, thank you, Jess, so much for sharing. Now, coming up right now is Abby Bland, and on deck is Grace. But right now, please welcome Abby to the mic.
Hey y'all, can you hear me? Cool. So my poem is short, but it's a poem. My mother wanted a doll in satin dresses, but birthed a tomboy in muddied muscle shirts. Maybe it was daddy's bourbon or too many Elvis records. Whatever it was, the way she tells it, I was born hating the color pink. A known fact with an unknown origin. I came from the womb in the darkness of a winter solstice, already determined to love the night sky or ocean depths, but not pink, not its tenderfoot and doughy sweetness. Femininity was always a crushed flower I was reticent to claim, so I don't remember when softness began to bloom in my chest. But wherever it is rooted, I want to give it to the way your lips press like petals against my belly. And I want to give it to your hands, to that late summer morning, your fingers pressing the pomegranate open, the seeds wet and plunging into the bowl, the way they tasted on my blushing tongue.
Wow, thank you. The imagery of that poem was so lovely. Oh my gosh, I hope that I can hear more of your work or see that poem again sometime. Thank you so much. Okay, so I think Grace has actually left the chat right now. So instead of Grace coming up, we will have Demeter closing out our showcase for the evening. So Demeter is up, and there is a content warning for homophobia, lesbophobia, and the D word slur, just so y'all know and can take care of yourselves. But yes, let us welcome our last poet of this lovely showcase, Demeter.
Sorry, I got thrown off by it asked me to unmute myself. My poem has actually changed since then. So the warning for this one is, I guess, just like family stuff. Yeah. And it reads 3 ways, so I'm gonna read it 3 different ways. When I start panicking, I play Joanna Newsom. When I start panicking, I play Joanna Newsom, just like my mother taught me. Let the sound take me. Bury my sorrow soft in the backyard. I earn my sweetness from a woman who yells, from a family trying to crawl out of itself, hiding the scorch marks. I remember my mother kicked down the door with one broken foot. I remember my mother as the woman throwing a cast iron pan across the room, remembering to sink her teeth in. When I start panicking, I play Joanna Newsom. I cry when the song comes on, sew a lake to sting my cuticles and plead for a darkness thick enough to drink. A mouthful of mulch and clean sheets. I make my escape with silk feet, teach myself counting the blessings, playing lullabies loud enough to drown everything out, playing Joanna Newsom with the same vengeance as the woman who anointed the first apartment with glitter and called it fairy dust, the woman hiding the divorce with tea lights and shrinky dinks, teaching me how to be soft enough to survive. When I start panicking, I play Joanna Newsom, just like my mother taught me. I cry when the song comes on, let the sound take me, sew a lake to sting my cuticles, bury my sorrow soft in the backyard and plead for a darkness thick enough to drink. I earn my sweetness, a mouthful of mulch and clean sheets, from a woman who yells. I make my escape with silk feet from a family trying to crawl out of itself, teach myself counting the blessings, hiding the scorch marks, playing lullabies loud enough to drown everything out. I remember my mother playing Joanna Newsom with the same vengeance as the woman who kicked down the door with one broken foot, anointed the first apartment with glitter and called it fairy dust. I remember my mother as the woman hiding the divorced tea lights and shrinky dinks, the woman throwing a cast iron pan across the room, teaching me how to be soft enough to survive, remembering to sink her teeth in. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Thank you so much. So, yeah, that was our last poet of the evening. I really want to give thanks once again to everyone who shared. I want to give thanks for our amazing features. I want to give thanks to Zenaida and Dee, our amazing executive directors. I want to give thanks to all the volunteers and all the effort and love in this space. So grateful to be here every time. I'm so grateful. Yeah, and I hope that you're all able to pour into yourselves and that you feel as fed as I was. I have one closing activity that I'd like for us all to do. But before I do that, I'm wondering, Zenaida and Dee, is there anything you'd like to say?
I think we just want to say thank you all so much for an incredible weekend. Thank you for showing up the best ways you could. Thank you for allowing us to serve you in this way. We are so excited to be able to continue growing with this community, and I'm gonna miss you starting in 20 minutes, probably. Dee?
Just echoing what Zenaida and Sarah and everyone has shared throughout the night. Like, this has been a magical experience that I never imagined would go so beautifully over the internet. To feel so full after witnessing so much connection and love being shared and support in developing poetry and craft and sharing the stage together. Huge thank yous to Charlotte and Rachel for gracing the stage in the living room, or tonight. We appreciate everything that you brought, and we're so grateful for everything that everyone brought this weekend. And thank you to Sarah for being an incredible host.
Yes,
fun, amazing person. So blessed by the energy every time. Tauruses, they're just as a Taurus, I can just say that they're incredible. Impeccable.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so I have a closing activity. It takes literally less than a minute. So I'm going to count to 3. And on the count of 3, I want us all to unmute our mics and shout into the ether, to each other, a blessing that we want for the future of FEMS or for yourself, because sharing your blessings is also blessing us. Okay, so I'll give us a minute to think of whatever blessing we want to share. Okay, and now on the count of 3, unmute your mic and shout it out. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Everything your Abotsi says.
Oh,
So much love.
Love.
Wow.
Oof. I love it.
Wow. All right. I received that. Thank you. Much love to all of y'all. Have a great night.
Thank you. Well done.
Thank you so much. Great job, Sarah.
Sarah, you were a fantastic host. Thank you for all your